Sharing my screen. Good, Sai, Sunny, I saw your data models. So if you have a time at the end you want to go through or you want to discuss, we'll have. Otherwise, we're good. Otherwise, good. Just start. Others also can create the models and share whatever you are creating. Okay. So we'll resume our where we are like exercise 2 we have started. So last session we have started about how to generate data in Talent. So we have a like a situation where we are not going to have any data, but still we want to like kind of prepare a data and you want to show. For example, now you guys created some data models. So how you are going to like show demo. So the customer is very new and you want to whatever process you have created in your data model, so you want to show that kind of job design and how it is going to work and all. So but they won't share data before like they're not your ready customer, just you are making them this is how we are going to design your solution, how what are the problems you have. They'll just give a kind of brief and they'll ask you to prepare a demo and show us how Talend is going to solve our problem, how you are going to make the kind of environment. So to show the demo, so there you have to get some data. So in that situation, right, this is the component. This is a like a positive case I'm explaining. Generally, that won't be the situation. They'll give some sample data. They'll give even 10 records or 100 records of dummy data sometimes, because it's not going to be, so they cannot convince with what you are going to do the generator and what data you are preparing. They may not able to follow what it is this data, or you have to manually create. But they are giving a feature, you can generate a data using the t row generator. So t row generator in the sense row generate, so it's generate the data row in the sense it's going to be a number of columns or something. It is going to be a you are going to have horizontal something data. It's going to be one column or 10 columns, whatever it is. So if you are seeing in the notepad, data is going to be a, so here you see, right, a number of rows are there. How many rows we have? 22 rows we have a data. So this is also a data. But this what is this? Why we have this kind of data and what is the content of this one? So we if somebody is seeing, they can read the content, but what is the intention of? Where is the label for this? So then you have to give the header. So you have to mention this is a. So if you give that label, that makes sense to the audience, like who are going to read this. So the presentation content or something they're like explaining using the notepad. That is what you people know why I have used this one. But others where they're going to just see the say, text. They cannot able to they cannot able to label that. So they have to know what it is. So you have to mention that is a presentation content. So what I am going to discuss, these things are written on this notepad. So that makes sense. This is a called header. So this is a header. So when you are going to have a date, so when this content is prepared, so I'm going to have demo date. So like that, a number of fields or columns. This is going to be we are going to have in a data, so that it will make sense what it is and why it is and where it is when it is. So it's going to have a number of columns, and you can define your related associated information on that columns. Okay, so this is a this so now you are creating a data. So you need to have what you need to have. You have to have the headers, that means columns, so what you are going to prepare and each and every field. That's where this is called a schema. You can see the schema defined, so you can define schema here and you can see the column, so that is called column. So you can add your columns. Sorry. So you can add your column, so what column you want and what type of data you are going to store. So here you are seeing, right, type. So type is going to indicate what type of data. So it is going to be a numeric, or it is going to be a character, or it is going to be a kind of a date, whatever you have to select that type. So column indicates what is the label. I told you, right, simple example. If you are writing something, before that you have to have what it is, what you are writing. That makes sense to others. Same way, if I am not going to have this ID, then you won't understand what is this column. Something numbers are there. It is a what column it is. It is a employee ID or it is sequence ID. Something like you have to say what it is and what column and why you are taking what data type you are selecting. So type indicates what type of data. So if you are taking a integer and you are trying to insert as a characters, it won't allow. So that is a main intention of data type defined. So if you are defining the data type specific to that field, then you have to follow that. If you are using integer and you are trying to insert a string or something, then it will not allow you to process the flow, and it will throw error. You have something, it will for input string to int, that is the exception number format exception, something it will throw. Even that is not the case. That's where we they have designed the like a data type. So in other case, column is nothing but a variable. So variable is called vary the value when you want to change the value. So id is a variable which is going to have data type as an integer. So integer type data can be stored on id variable. So that is the same, you can vice versa, you can say in your process of design, you can say this is schema. So this is nothing but it will read from somewhere id and it will generate the numeric data using the sequence. Coming to here, this is a function. So functions are methods, whatever. So something, some performing the some kind of action on some data is going to have in the functions. They'll call it a set of methods and functions predefined. So these are all predefined. If you see, right, this is a sequence generation. There is a numeric class. Under numeric class, they have a sequence method. So numeric is a class. So and they have a method called sequence. So what you have to pass, what is the and what column or what string you are passing, and what how you want to increase. You want to step by like one by one you want to increase, or 1 plus 2 you want to increase. So that the parameters. So now you can see here. So here we have selected numeric and sequence. When you select this, and you can see that how you want to increase the id field. So you want to increase one by one, or you want to increase step to 2. It will get 1 plus 2 3, next 3 plus 2 5, 5 plus 2 7. So it will go on based on your step value. It's kind of looping. So just you have to pass the step, how you want to increment the sequence number. And generally we are all having sequence in a SQL also, right? Oracle, MySQL, whatever. You have seen that auto increment. So where you can increment the value automatically. So that is going to be auto increment, means it's always going to be a 1. So it will always increase the value what we have in a previous, that will be added to plus 1. So plus 1 means 2 we have, then plus 1, then it will become a 3, then next record it is going to have 4, like that. Same way they have designed a Java code which is going to generate a sequence. So sequence automatically. So you don't need to think, or you don't need to write any code to increment. So how it is going to be called in a SQL, this is the next val, or it's going to be auto increment method. So just you just call that whatever function they have in a SQL. Same way in here also, Talend method they have called a sequence, and the sequence you have to pass the how you want to increment. So in Oracle you don't have that step step functionality, but still you can move that sequence to some extent, like what value you want to get it same, you can get it in a SQL also. But here it is a code and it is going to allow the parameters. So it is going to have the parameters. So parameter indicates what the parameters it is expecting. Based on the method, you have to check that parameters and you have to pass that values. So here it is expecting three parameters: the name, label, so sequence identifier. So it is again a label for sequence. So S1 is a sequence one. So that is given the label for that what sequence you are doing. Generally sequence, when you are creating SQL also, you will give you that sequence name, right? This is for item sequence. So like if you have an item table, in item ID is there and it is going to be auto increment for item ID, then we'll have to create that function in SQL also. Then we'll label as item sequence. So something. So lar I sequence. So whatever we'll give a label. Same that when you are calling that method, you will call item sequence dot next val, item I sequence dot next val. So like that you will call that method function in SQL. Same way here also, that is a label which is called I going to identify the what is your sequence name, and next value is value. So start value. So start value means you want to start from 1 or you want to start from 0. So you want to start from 0, you can select that 0, and you want to increment 1, so you want to increment 2, whatever value you can pass here. So that is a configuration. And you want to see the review of how the sequence, how the data is coming, you can select the preview and you can click on preview. So now you can see, right? I have selected sequence starts from 0. So 0 plus 1, 1 plus 1, 2. So and we have selected 10 rows. If I want to get 100 rows, I want to generate 100 rows data, you can select the 100 rows and you can prepare the preview. This is preview number of records you want to see. So now you can see 100 records will be there in your preview. Can drag that scroll bar, you can see that 100 records. So this is for just a preview. You want to get on the job and you want to get that print that 100 records on log row, you have to give that number to here. This is for preview number. This is for writing onto the next component. So make sure where you are passing. If you pass here, it is going to be just, it will be in under preview content only. If you pass here, it is going to pass to the next component. So whatever it's generated. So this is a column and this is a type and this is a functions. So functions, if you see, right, a number of functions are there. I'm going to add one more. So so p date. So I have taken one more column all p date. So p date, I have created a label variable column and you can see the type. So date always going to be a date type. So I want to change that type to date type because I want to represent date format or a date of today's date. So present date I want to get for data. When I'm preparing data, I want to have the today's date, present date or current date, whatever. So then you have to search for date methods. What are all the methods available in date? So now you can see, right, there is a class talent date. Under you can see the get date. So add date and get date, current date and get first day of month. So this method name itself gives some common sense, or you can get the sense why the name is called, that method is called get first day of month. So that will give the first day of month. So first that the day is going to be a Monday or Tuesday you are going to get. And same way you'll get the last day of month, you'll get a random date. So if you select a random date, some date it will prepare for you and it will give you. And same way past date, something format of date is different, you want to format that into some other, like if you see date is going to have your date is like this, for example 12 12 20 21. So this one they ask you to format it or convert. This is a string in a source system, but they want to make it this as a date when you are writing into the target system. They don't want to keep that as a string. So 12 hyphen 12 hyphen 2021. So this kind of like a formation or a standardization you want to perform on the dates, then they have a methods which can allow you to just pass these parameters. So now you can find where is the format date. So now we are going to do the format example. So now we have to search for where is the format date. Is there a format date here? No, but we have still, but this is just a generator, so they are not going to allow you to transformation. This is a kind of transformation. So this is a transformation, so they won't allow you to do this kind of, this is a input, right? Just a generator, so you don't find that method. But we have that method. I'll show you that when we are going to use that formations and all. But why I'm explaining, the methods are available whatever you want to perform on each and every field. That is going to be a custom, like it's going to be a, it's not a custom, it's a like a predefined or a system routines. So these are all system. Here it is called as a methods or a functions. They'll call it as a routines. So talent date is a routine. Under that you will have a methods. So first you see that is called a class. So just Java, it is a class. So class is going to be there first, and then you are going to call the method. So that is a like a syntax of calling a method. So here that is what they are doing in the auto. So this is a already they have defined or prepared all the methods whatever generally people wants to do perform any actions. So they have designed and they have given that methods. Now we are going to just for this scenario just will get the current date. I want a present date, so I'll just select the current date. Okay, so now I'm going to run the preview this one again. So 3 fields are added. I'm going to preview. So now you say, right, today date is coming. So you want to, you do, and one more, we'll see one more field. So I want to make a cities. So I want to list some cities. This data I'm preparing for our tidying purpose. So I just want to give the list of cities randomly. So values I'm going to define here. Okay, like this I have defined a uh, specific list of cities, and I want to get that kind of whatever city is going to define. So randomly it is going to pick and it will give. So zero candidate it is given Vijayawada, and second one it is given Kandukuru, and let's say the ID 3 it is going to get Ongol. So like this randomly you want to customize your like a field or a data, you can use that customized. So this is not any function or which is you just have to define that data in a environment variables. So environment variables in the sense it's going to be available what you have set. So something you are going to set in the component, you are setting these variables values to the city variable. So what the values is going to be available for this component alone, it's not going to be there in any other component. Okay, these methods you are going to see in other components also, because these are all like a system function. This is not a function, right? Just we have given a customized value. So the value is we are defining in the environment level. For this component we are setting up that environment which is going to take the city values from this component. So the values are taking from this whatever you defined under environment variables. So this is not going to be a global, this is going to be available within this component, and these variables are set for this city. So these values are set for city column only. So now this is going to take this, and this is not going to any order. So this is a randomly, it will pick that value and it is going to assign your entries. So now you see that how it is happened. So now you want to print these values. So now what is the intention of here to understand this row generator? So you want to showcase customer different data types. So then you have to say take the appropriate column and related data types, and then you have to generate the data. So like this, you want any US cities. So US, you can see that they have directly given the. So city is going to be a string, right? So now you can find, is there any methods available to get the city? So now you can see, right? There is a US city, US state. So US state ID, US state street. These are all the list they have already inbuilt in the function they handle. So I'm going to use US city for this example. We'll see what is this going to generate the data. So now you can see, right? So it is given some US cities under the US city column. So this is how you can make your data. So you want to get a US state, you are dealing with a demo if you're going. So that's where they're just focusing, they're given the samples, US cities. Or you want to go for, if you are demoing to the Malaysia customer, then you have to find some cities in Malaysia and you can list here and you can showcase them. This is how we have generated data for your kind of demo. So you can just use that customized cities under Malaysia. Like that you can handle. So you can configure as much whatever the features they have provided in Talend. So you can refresh the preview, and here you can see, right? So this is the first option where you can add a column to your row generation. So not only row generation, this is a schema. We are going to see all the components. When you are start using the component, you have to add the schema. So what you are preparing, what data you are passing to the next component. So that kind of information we have to pass to the under schema. So schema is going to schema is called it's a definition of your uh, table or a definition of your file. So whatever you are going to write or read from the table or a file or anywhere, when you are reading, what you are reading is going to define under schema. So schema will check for what you are defined. So if you define like something like city, but there is no city in the table, the only ID is the there, then you put the select star from city, then it will fetch. But schema look for, is there a ID? So it's not going to pull the data. Then you are going to have to check what is they have defined in a table, what they have defined in it. So I want to read this file, then I have to go this file, what they have in this content. So they have presentation content and demo. Then what I have to do, I have to get this here header. This is a, so coming to the any flat file will anywhere we'll call it as a header, but when you are going to tables, it's going to be as a column. So first row is going to be a header of your content, so that you can call it as a column name, or you are going to call it as a header. So anything is fine. So always why we have a header, that is going to help you to understand what type of data you are storing under that. So now you can see, right? So the content is a like related to presentation content is there under the demo date, but we don't see any date. So that means it is a demo date is a empty. So there is a null or a space, whatever it is there. Okay, so but you can able to follow the first column is defining the definition of presentation content. So what you are writing on this column, that is going to be understandable. So this first row always going to be a will if it is going to be a relational database or any non NoSQL database, we'll call it as a column names. But when you are coming to the files, then we'll call it as a header. So header or column name fine, but first row always going to be the header. Except this is a that is going to be a positional file, there are a fixed length file, they'll not have a header kind of thing. Other than that, everything you will have a header. So that is going to have a number of columns. So each column have their own data and related data types. So how we are getting that type. So you have to select what is the column and related data type. So this is a schema definition. So this is our row generator schema definition. So now I want to go and write this content onto the console again. So this is log row. So now coming to this component again. So here you can see, right? So there is a basic settings and you are able to follow how what schema you want. You just want to add a schema. You just add a schema. But getting data, where you have to go? You have to go to the generator editor. So editor is called edit the what functionality all. This is all kind of schema. So, okay, this is a layout of your component and you are adding the schemas. But when you want to write or type something here, just we are selecting and you want to edit something, then you have to select that. You can click on here and you can click here and you can go here. There you see dots, right? So each and every column you can go here and what they have allowed. So there is no editing here. So but this field have editing. So like this, you will have a editing options on specific functionality or a columns. You have to check where you can able to edit. So this is already defined why you want to edit. So what you want to edit, these kind of information based on the what method, what functionality you are selecting, you can find that below the selection. You have to select that column and you can see the editor. So this here you can see any, is there any editor? So you want to edit here, you can select this and you can see dots. So that is a editing of your what you want to edit. You want to edit to one, then you can click on one. So this is a editor and this is called, they're giving expression builder. So you want to whatever expressions, like whatever functionality transformations you want to do, that you are going to use the editor. This is called expression editor. So every column you are going to have this expression editor. So some columns you won't find because it's already defined. So what you want to edit, nothing to edit. Or if some columns have edit, so now you have the option. So here it is a string length greater than 6. So they have defined greater than or equal to 6. So all the string whatever it is going to generate, we are expecting equivalent to 6 characters or more than a 6 characters. Or you don't want that much, you want just 3 fields, then 3 length, you can select that 3. Or you can go here, you can see the expression editor and you can write how much length you want to define for that string. So you can have 5 or 4, whatever. You can just edit and you can save. So always you have to, once you are done, right? So you have to save your code. Otherwise, if you are not running, you are simply code, it will ask you, do you want to save this or don't save? So then you can save. So save is going to have multiple options. So whenever completed your configuration, you can go and save it automatically. Or when you are closing the job, it will ask you, you want to save or you don't want to save or cancel. So that pop-up will come. Otherwise, when you are go and run option, right here, you can see that here you can see what is the options you have in advanced settings. So here you can see, right, save job before execution. So when you are going to run the job, automatically your changes are going to be saved. If you uncheck this one, then it will not save. So by default, the save before execution option will help you to save your whatever configurations, whatever changes you made in the job. So, okay, so this is please remember and make sure you have checked that option in your, by default it is going to be checked. If you want to test, you can uncheck it and test it. But this the option which is helping you to save the content whatever you have written in a job area or whatever you configure in the component, it's going to be by default it is going to save before execution. So when you click run, automatically it will change that workspace with all the new changes whatever we have made. And now we are coming to understand what else we have to do in the component. So we have created a definition or we have edited the schema for this row generator, whatever fields we want to create a data. So create data, generate is nothing but we are creating, we are preparing the data. So that's where, but it is generating using their own functions, existing functions and all. So that's where they're calling row generator. So row means horizontal, right? So and you'll have n number of columns or no columns, it's going to data generator. So you can just generator, but always we are going to deal with the data. Always we have to have header. Header is nothing but a schema here. Okay. And row generator, this is a editor where you have to use the functions and all. And advanced settings, is there any advanced settings? No, it's we just have stat catches and all. And view, you want to change anything, you want to change the label of this component, you can change it. And documentation, you want to write some documentation about this. So this kind of disclaimer note or something, right? So you can write it will help to understand before somebody click the job or before running. So this is going to harm any load or something. So if you write that kind of information, this is just a creation of data for demo. So you can run a number of times. That is the how you will get a disclaimer note, right? When you are seeing any video, they'll say disclaimer note, this is not harmed any animal something. So there's the same way you can say your job is going to do this one. If you run this one, this is what it is going to happen. If you run this one, this is not going to impact anything. So that kind of informations you can pass in a documentation. So now we understand components are going to have basic settings, advanced settings, dynamic settings, view, documentation. These five are going to be the same for every component. But inside the settings, what we have and how to utilize, you have to understand when you are using the component. And you can click on what is the option to get the documentation of this one. Click on F1. So F1 will give you the content for the component what it is going to have. You want to open within the browser, or you want to open it in a Google, like a browser also you can open it. So documentation will going to get beside in a studio itself. So you can find what is this component and what are all the settings you have to do. So now you can see, right, last name, hire date, so random date, something they have provided. So you can go through this scenario when you are practicing also, and what it is and what is the view schema and change they built in. So all the component related, what are all the settings we are going to perform, and what is the use of this stat catcher. So select the checkbox to collect the log data of component level. So this kind of information you can find in your help note. So help note will give you the each and every step. So what are all things you have to configure before running the job, and how it is going to print also. They're giving the scenario, and what the methods they are using, everything you will get from the scenario. And all the components, they'll not give a scenario, but still whatever components they'll give the documentation of this one. So this is very helpful when you are using a very new component which you are not able to follow what needs to be configured, and what that is where we have to follow the documentation when you are going with the new technology which you are trying to perform in a Talend. Okay, that is very new for you also, but you know how to use a Talend and how to configure the components and all. But what to configure and why we have to configure, that documentation is going to be there for each and every component. Okay, so now I'm going to close the help. Now this is a row generator component we have taken, and we have all settings, whatever data we need, we have done. So what is the point of configuring this? And with this component, can we do anything? Nothing, because it's just a generator, and you want to see the data, you need to have some output. So output means you are going to write this data somewhere, then only you can able to see what it is and what it have written, what is your expected functionality or behavior of this component. So for that we have a one component which is going to display the content of whatever is read from the input or a source component. It is going to print on the console. So for that purpose we have a log row. So you can see that lagro. So when you type that lagro, you'll get that component. So I want to get this, whatever I have configured in this component, I want to get into my console. I want to see on data. So how we will come it without there is no connectivity, without like a communication, we can't get the data onto the console. So that's where, right? So two people are here, but why they have stand here? They have to have why they stand, and if there is any communication required between. So how that establishment, there is a connection required, some connection, or you have to go and talk something, or someone have to come and talk to you, then only the communication will happen between the two objects. Here also same thing. So two components we have. So what to do, we know. So what is a row generator? Is a generator of data. And other, what is our scenario, we want to print that data on a console. So what we have used the component tlagro. So but where is the communication between these two objects or a components? So then you have to go to the connection. So connection needs to be established between the two people. So we have to think two things are there, but there is no communication, means something need to be connected, then only you will utilize the two objects, right? So same way here, you can right click on the component, you can see two things here. One is a row and one is a trigger. So forget about trigger and all, first row. So row in the sense, so row generator is generating the data. So rows are created here in the row generator. So that row, that is a name called label as a row. So whatever data is generated here, the rows, you want to pass to the next component. So next component you want to pass. So for that purpose, you can see two sub connections are here. Under row connection, you will see the sub connection main and iterator. So main. So what is a main? So main is a first connection in a Talend, which is going to pass the data between in like a before component to next component. So you want to pass some data from this component to this component, or this component to other component. So main is the one which is going to help you to pass the data from one component to other component. It's a next to the next component or before to the component. So passing data between the components used by connection is main. So the main connection will get the data from input and it will pass to the next component. So we cannot say this is our target. So this is a next component, because right now in this scenario, it may be the source is the row generator and target is a log row. So we are passing data between. But in a flow, when you are designing a job in a different flows, they'll have a number of components which you keep pass the data to the next components, and final target is going to be somewhere after 10 components or 5 components. But keep you have to pass your pass data into the next components. So what is the connection? We are going to use the main. That's where they're calling as a main. So once you switch on the main connection from the source, and next what connections you are going to establish with next components, based on that it is going to pass. But the main is a switch on, like it's going to be a kind of our when you have a power, right? So you can switch off like that meter or somewhere, it will stop all the your lights or fans in a rooms or different things, right? Same way here, the main name is called as a main. So when you switch on that main, when you establish the connection from main, the input starting of the component from input main. So the main indicates passing data, reading data, and it will pass across your job. So how many components are using and how you are going to pass that data. Always you want to pass the data next component, then you have to use the main. So the main will be continue to pass the data between next component to next component. So here it is maybe input and it is maybe output, but in other case it's not going to be the starting or ending of this job. So this job is going to keep pass different components and different flows, the data will be passed to final stage. So that is always going to be the main. So main is a purpose to pass the data to the next component. So what is the starting point of this job? How you identify? So start the component which is a background is highlighted as green. So that will indicate you. So if you have one more component, So now starting point of this this is the two components we have, right? So what is the starting point? This is a starting point and this is also starting point because the green is there. I want to make this as a inactive. This is not a starting point of the job. What we have to do, we have to some connection here. So I'm just making some other connection to here, and now you can see the color changes. So this is not a starting point of your job, this is the starting point of this job. Having start point this component, after this it will start running this component. So starting point indicate the color of component background, it's going to be a green color. That is the starting point of your job. So when I don't have this connection, so what is the starting point? This has its own starting point and this has its own starting point. So this indicates, so the green color indicates you starting point of your job. So n number of starts going to be there. So this is a one more process and it is going to be do the generation, and this is going to Java component. I have written some custom code or something. This is going to perform that Java kind of functionality, whatever. So this two is a own starts, they have their own starts, there is no dependency between this. So now you are working on this row generator and trying to print data. So in this flow, what is the starting point for you? So if it is there in here, so it is there in here. So log row is going to be a start. You cannot consider the component where it is. So where it is the starting point, the component, what is the name, like a name is input. So the component name is a row generator. This is going to be input component, and the log row is going to be have left side of this component or right side of this component or top of this component or down of this component. So wherever you put the, what we have to understand, what is the starting point of this flow? The starting point of flow is defined, or it is a like a driver of your flow. So the driver is going to be there in any vehicle. Driver is going to be there in the first place, right? Without driver, no vehicle will go on, right? So same way, the component, the design is going to be, this is a just a graphical representation. So you can put in your component in top, or you can put it down, or you can put left, or you can put a right. So doesn't matter, but the flow will start from the driver. So that is a one standard we have to follow. Whenever you are starting input, right, left to right you have to start. So that will make sense. So this is your input component and this is your next target component. If you put here, that won't make sense. So if you put here, so if I don't know Talend, if you don't know Talend, so where is the input and where is the output? So where is the output component, where is the input component? If you are technically understand Talend is a that starting point is a row generator is a component which is going to generate, and a blind symbol is it has a green color. So this is the starting point and this is a writing data into the console. That kind of technical or a skill, if the other person has, then able to follow. Otherwise it's going to be difficult. So this is the starting point or this is the starting point, they won't understand. For that purpose you have to follow the standards when you are designing. So it's a common, it's a common scenario, right? In a common sense, when you have a vehicle design, so driver is going to be the first. So driver is going to be the first place when you are moving a vehicle. Same way, so that the component is going to be there, inputs always starts from left to right. So left to right you have to start the component design, and when you are having a number of components in your job, then you have to start from stop like a start top of the corner of your job area too, and you have to come to at the end bottom of your page. So two best like a design job is left to right and top to bottom. So when you are starting your job, you have to remember where you are starting. So top and left side, the inputs or whatever you are going to use the connection components, whatever. So start from left to right. So that will make sense. So this is the starting flow and this is going to be the at the keep it's going on these components and it's going to be end there. So that sense will be give. You can design any such a way that is a like that is up to developer. There is no restriction, but we have to define that process and we have to follow that kind of standards. So that will make life simple for when you are debugging. Also it's going to be easy for you if you have used uh, 30-40 components in your job and you have just connected here and there. It's a clumsy, or you cannot later 5 months or 6 months it's going to be difficult for you also. But when you define in a proper way, then you are able to follow. So even others you don't need to much explain. what you have done. So if you are there also a talent developer, they know what component and what it is doing and all. So if you design job in a such a way, so able to follow, so what is the input and what is the output, and finally where it is going, and what is the connection you are establishing between the process. So now one connection we understand main. So main connection is always in a talent collections. It will pass the data from one component to other component. Some component you may not find main. That means it's not ready to pass anything to next component. For example, T is our component. So now you can see, is there any main? So you have to check. So main is there. So like this, you have to see, and I want to have one more component. Every component you can have to find. So what is the main connection is available or not. So main is there. Yes. So like this, you have to find every component. You can see what is there, and like you have. So now you can find, right? So all the components you have or not, and now you have to have loop. So loop component. So is there a main with this component? So where you can find, just right click on the component and click on the row, and you can find there is a main is there not a, so main is there means that component is ready to pass some data. So if you define the schema and you are having the that information to pass the data to the next component, then you will find. So very rare case, few components you don't find the main. All other components you are going to have main connection, even output also. So from output to some other way place you want to pass the data. So this is a other output component. You want to pass data to the next. So now you see, right? So this is from here T row generator to I have loaded to the some DB output Redshift, and from there I want to pass this data to the next component. So you will have most of the components you will have a main connection. Okay. So like this, you can find whenever you are using component, you can see that component will pass the data to the next component or not. So main is a connection which help you to pass the data to the one component to other component. So now we are going to run this job. So what is the intention of these two connection, like two components? So one is a row generator, and I want to establish a connection between these two components. And what is the purpose of log row is to print the data on a console. So we want to get the data from this component, and we want to print on the console. For that, what connection we are using? Main. So the main is a connection which will read the data whatever coming from the in component, and it will pass to the next component. So the main is a passing data between the components. The connection main is a passing data between the components. So now whatever we have configured, everything is coming or not. So now you see, right? It is a just a every record, every column, it has a pipe symbol. So where it is coming, they have designed such a way. So how you want to print your data. So here you can see settings. You can find, so schema automatically sync. So sync columns means whatever is coming from this main connection. So if you don't have this connection, if you don't have this connection, there is no schema. So I'll remove this. We have already sync, right? So when you drag the new component, you will not have any schema over here. So if it is a fresh log row, so component, they don't have any schema. Whenever you establish a connection from this component, you will get that schema automatically. Now you can find that schema is moved to this component to this component. That means it's a main. So main is a intention to pass the data from one component to other component. So what to pass, without a schema, it won't understand what to pass. So automatically they will pass that schema to the next component whenever you connected. For example, I am going to add one more column here. So just added one more column. So automatically it will ask, so you have added one more column, right? Would you like to propagate these changes? So whatever you have done these changes, you want to pass to the next component or not? If you say no, then it will not move. So it will show only the new column is not going to be there in the right side. It will have only left side. So you want to have that. You want to have that now new column also. Then you see here, right? It is giving a warning. It is saying there is a schema difference. So your input having 9 columns. So that is not message, but you can understand there is a your input column has 6 columns, but your output has 5 columns. So that is indicating the schema from input link row is different from the schema defined in the in component. So this component, whatever you schema defined, is a different from what you have in the input component. So you want to make sync of these things, you can have an option to sync these columns